Step inside the smoky hearth, where rats scurry underfoot. Flies buzz through bone-dry meat, and every spoonful of pottage simmers in the same water you just washed your hands in, if you washed at all. This was the medieval kitchen, a filthy crucible where hunger, disease, and alchemy collided. Low-angle shot beneath a thatched roof, rafters blackened by smoke, rats dart nimbly between overturned cauldrons. A loaf of bread writhes with maggots, close up on a butcher cleaving a pig's head. Thick steam, streaked with ash, curls upward, mingling with the heavy, acrid air. The acrid sting of smoke, mingling with rancid lard, fills the nostrils. A sickly sweet tang of coagulated animal blood coats cold stone slabs. The relentless drone of flies vibrates unbearably close to your ear. Tonight, we pry the lid off medieval kitchens and ingest the horrors that sausage links and stew pots tried desperately to hide. Pre-dawn shadows cling tightly to the cold stone walls of the kitchen. Faint embers glow beneath a heavy, blackened iron pot resting on the hearth. Alda the cook, her greasy shawl hanging heavy around her shoulders, scrapes stubborn burnt porridge from the hearthstone with a worn wooden spatula. Suddenly, a swarm of rats bursts from a cracked granary door, their sleek bodies darting through the gloom as Gunnar the steward swings a heavy shovel, swatting furred invaders with sharp thwacks. Alda steadies her hand and ladles broth from the simmering pot, only to lift a tangled clump of rat hair caught in the stew. Without hesitation or disgust, she flicks the foul mass into the glowing embers, where it vanishes in a hiss. Meanwhile, Gunnar carries a pail of greasy kitchen slops, leftover scraps, mixed with rancid grease water, and pours them into the open yard. Flies immediately swarm, buzzing in thick clouds over the foul spill. Signe, the maid, throws open the heavy wooden shutters, desperation etched on her face as she seeks relief. A gust rushes in, carrying the rank stench of manure from the yard, mingling with the choking smoke and the scent of decay inside. Alda exhales, shrugs, and plucks a handful of vibrant watercress from a nearby bundle, dropping the greenery into the patter, fragile hope that the fresh herb will mask the kitchen's rot. Cut to black on Alda's low, weary whisper, "May God pardon what we must eat." Today's kitchens gleam with stainless steel, spotless counters, and pass rigorous health inspections. Yet medieval cooks toiled in sculleries, reeking of raw sewage, tending open fires, and rarely washing hands each meal, a roll of the hygiene dice. The scene opens on a sleek, modern culinary studio, where induction hobs hum softly beneath polished pots. Filtered water streams from gleaming taps, while precision sous vide cocottes maintain exact temperatures. Every surface shines, stainless steel reflecting immaculate light. The atmosphere hums with controlled efficiency, a temple of modern food safety, cut sharply to a medieval hearth cloaked in soot-stained stone walls. Animal hide curtains flap in drafty doorways. Open drains channel kitchen scraps in dark rivulets to hungry pigs below. Meat, raw and smoked, dangles from rafters high above unwashed bread loaves covered in dust and flour crust. The air is heavy with smoke and decay. We live with the dread of E. coli outbreaks and food recalls. For medieval cooks, the terror was more primal. The Black Death, typhus, and dysentery lurked in the very vessels meant to sustain life, turning every meal into a gamble against unseen killers. The crackling fire spits sparks, mingling with the acrid tang of smoke. A low, persistent buzz of flies fills dank corners, weaving through the stale air, underscoring a world where cleanliness was a luxury and survival a precarious balancing act. The modern kitchen's sterile glow is built on centuries of lessons learned from kitchens like these, filthy, dangerous, and unpredictable. Medieval kitchens were rife with open drains and cesspits, creating perfect breeding grounds for rats and flies that threatened both cooks and diners. Visuals reveal damp, stained stone floors littered with refuse, while the persistent buzz of flies fills the air. This filth was a constant, invisible menace. Cats and dogs prowled freely through the kitchen spaces, expertly hunting rats and vermin to curb infestations. Scenes show cats stalking silently along shadowed walls, while vigilant dogs patrol doorways. Their quiet presence was a vital organic defense, acting as frontline guardians against disease-carrying pests. Vinegar's sharp acidity was harnessed to wipe down cutting boards and utensils, offering one of the earliest forms of disinfection. Close-ups display cooks pouring pungent vinegar over rough wooden surfaces, the sour scent filling the cramped air. It was a crude but hopeful attempt to fight unseen microbes. Salt brine and wood ash were common tools to mask foul odors and sanitize grimy kitchen areas. Visuals include hands dusting coarse ash onto hearthstones and bubbling barrels of salty brine. The gritty texture and sharp saltiness symbolized desperate attempts to impose cleanliness amid decay. Spices and heavy smoke worked their magic by masking the smell and taste of spoiled food. Scenes show peppercorns crushed into powder and dense smoke rising from hanging meats. The biting aroma of pepper and acrid smoke transformed otherwise foul dishes into palatable feasts. Fermentation extended the shelf life of foods, turning vegetables into pickles and grains into sourdough bread and ale. Visuals depict bubbling crocks and frothy pours of ale. The tangy sourness and yeasty scent provided safer sustenance in an environment prone to rapid spoilage. Medieval kitchens lacked modern plumbing, channeling wastewater and household refuse through open drains that emptied directly into street gutters. Excavations reveal stone-lined trenches coated with thick layers of raw pork fat, blood residue, and decomposing organic matter, creating ideal environments for bacteria and vermin. At sites like York, archaeologists uncovered cesspits nestled beneath kitchen floors, demonstrating how waste accumulated in close proximity to food preparation areas, blurring boundaries between living space and filth. The slick sheen of congealed grease reflects light eerily, while a sour, rotten stench lingers in the air. Invisible yet omnipresent, these open drains acted as conduits not just for refuse but for disease vectors, making medieval sculleries hotspots of contamination. The constant presence of stagnant, rancid waste made cooking a hazardous gamble, every meal potentially laced with unseen microbial threats, compounding the dangers of a world already rife with plague and infection. Discarded kitchen waste attracted myriad pests, prompting medieval households to rely on natural predators and rudimentary traps. Archaeological digs in urban middens reveal abundant cat, dog, and pig skeletons intermixed with rat bones, indicating a living pest control system centered on domestic animals. Cat bones show signs of robust health, suggesting a prized role as rodent hunters. Additionally, fragments of wooden rat traps and remains of bone-lined pits, unearthed near dwellings, illustrate active human intervention to curb vermin populations. The soft crunch of tiny bones beneath excavation tools echoes the silent war waged beneath city streets. These biological and mechanical defenses formed an essential front line against disease-bearing rodents, reducing infestations in cramped, filthy kitchens. Professor Marcus Reed notes, these remains illuminate a calculated and ongoing effort to manage urban vermin, demonstrating that medieval communities understood and battled their pest problems with whatever means were available, integrating animal allies and crude technology into their survival strategy. Before germ theory, medieval cooks relied on practical substances to clean and sanitize kitchen tools and surfaces. Urine, rich in ammonia, was collected and used to degrease cooking vessels and wash grime from hearth tools. Lab analyses of residues on pottery and metal utensils confirmed the presence of ammonia compounds, revealing an empirical understanding of its cleansing power. Wood ash, with its abrasive texture, served as a scrubbing paste, applied to hearthstones and wooden boards to remove stubborn soot and fat. Experimental reenactments show cooks rubbing ash vigorously over tools, the gritty particles scrubbing away filth. The sharp, pungent tang of ammonia mixed with the coarse grit of ash created a sensory environment harsh but necessary. Though crude, these methods acted as early antiseptics, reducing microbial loads in kitchens overwhelmed by organic waste. Archaeological traces of ash on hearth implements underscore daily scrubbing rituals vital for managing the omnipresent filth. Medieval kitchens transformed the harsh realities of spoilage into culinary artistry. Through strategic use of imported spices and fermentation, trade records indicate the widespread import of pepper, saffron, and other costly spices, specifically to mask the taste and odor of rancid fats and aging meats. Archaeological finds of ceramic jars containing fermented fish sauces, akin to Roman garum, attest to the use of pungent condiments, enhancing flavor while preserving food. Hands grind peppercorns into fine powder. Dense smoke billows from hanging meats in curing chambers, infusing them with preservation qualities and distinctive aromas. The warm bite of pepper and the acrid temps of smoke worked to camouflage off flavors, turning potentially foul food into feasts fit for nobility and common folk alike. This flavor alchemy was essential in a time when refrigeration was non-existent and freshness. A luxury medieval cooks wielded spices and fermentation as powerful tools to extend the life of their provisions. Scientific analysis of kitchen midden deposits reveal unsettling links between food waste, disease, and public health crises. Isotopic studies of human remains correlate nutrient deficiencies like scurvy with diets reliant on rotting kitchen scraps and fermented brews. Microbial DNA extracted from latrine soils in medieval towns identifies pathogens consistent with dysentery and plague-causing bacteria. These findings confirm that the very waste generated in kitchens became a reservoir for deadly microbes, turning daily refuse into a vector of epidemics. Lab visuals contrast sterile, clinical environments with gritty, refuse-strewn middens, highlighting the stark divide between modern sanitation and medieval reality. Dr. Ingrid Sorensen stresses that medieval disinfection practices, though rudimentary, were vital attempts to mitigate rampant microbial threats. The struggle to manage filth and disease was a defining feature of medieval urban life, revealing kitchens as sites where survival depended on battling both visible pests and invisible pathogens. Dr. Ingrid Sorensen elaborates on the proto-antiseptic measures evident in medieval cooking spaces. She explains how substances like vinegar, urine, and wood ash, though lacking modern chemical understanding, served as empirical disinfectants, reducing bacterial contamination. Interviews intercut with reenactments show cooks scrubbing wooden boards with vinegar, pouring ammonia-rich urine over pots, and rubbing hearth tools with abrasive ash. Sorensen highlights that despite the crudeness of these methods, they represent sophisticated attempts to impose order and safety within chaotic, pest-ridden environments. These rituals were not mere superstition, but practical, if inconsistent, strategies rooted in observation and necessity. The blend of faith, experimentation, and hands-on care underscores an early form of hygiene science, bruto-antisepsis, born from survival instincts rather than formal knowledge. Professor Marcus Reed discusses how discarded kitchen waste shaped medieval urban ecosystems, particularly rodent populations and associated pest dynamics. Comparative diagrams illustrate shifts in bone assemblages over time, revealing how expanding refuse zones influenced vermin ecology. City layouts highlight pathways of waste flow, showing how concentrations of organic matter became hubs for rats and other scavengers. Reed emphasizes that human behaviors directly affected urban pest ecology, with kitchens as epicenters of this interaction. These findings shed light on the coevolution of medieval cities and their pest populations, revealing a complex balance of control, adaptation, and unintended consequences. The silent testimony of bones beneath cobblestones tells a story of resilience and struggle, highlighting the deep interconnection between human survival strategies and ecological dynamics in historical settings. A 3D reconstruction animates a medieval scullery's inner workings, tracing the flow of open drains beneath soot-blackened hearths and showing refuse pits teeming with pests. Visual overlays reveal how boiling water and pest control efforts battled the persistent presence of vermin. The hiss of steam and the distant buzz of flies underscore the sensory contrasts of heat and decay. Smoke curls from chimneys, intertwining with the shadows cast by rats darting beneath floorboards. This immersive portrayal highlights the paradox of medieval kitchen spaces of sustenance and filth, ingenuity and desperation. Here, survival depended on an uneasy alliance between humans, animals, and the microbes thriving in the shadows. The closing narration reflects on the entanglement of filth and innovation, the unseen battles fought daily in the heart of medieval life, leaving viewers with a profound appreciation of the harsh realities and resilient adaptations that defined the culinary landscape of the past. Before dawn breaks, Alder, the cook, crouches by the hearth, blowing gently on smouldering embers beneath a massive, soot-blackened iron cauldron. The faint glow spreads, casting flickering shadows over cold, stone walls scarred by smoke and time. Her hands, stained with grease and ash, rake coals and kindling, coaxing sparks to life. Nearby, Marta the maid sweeps the cold, grey ash from the floor with a worn broom, the gritty dust rising in delicate clouds that shimmer briefly in the dim morning light filtering through narrow windows. The air is thick with the sharp, acrid scent of smoke mingled with the earthy grit of cinders. This ritual fire-fed ashes cleared is the fragile barrier that will defend the kitchen from decay and chill through the long day ahead. In these quiet, laborious moments, survival begins anew, with the crackle of flame and the grind of grit beneath worn shoes. As morning deepens, Gunnar the steward stands over a rough wooden table, his broad hands steady but calloused from years of toil. He raises a heavy bone cleaver and splits open thick pork hocks with practiced force. The meat, revealing marbled fat and sinew, slabs of cured meat are submerged into large wooden barrels filled with brine, a salty solution that promises to slow rot and keep flies at bay. Above, ham and salted fish hang from ceiling beams, dangling in the stale kitchen air where swarms of flies dart in chaotic waves, dive-bombing the meat with relentless hunger. Sweat beads on Gunnar's furrowed brow, mixing with the pungent odors of salt and smoke. The faint hum of wings buzzes incessantly, a constant reminder that spoilage is a battle waged with every breath and every salted slab. Each barrel brimming with meat is a small victory against time and decay, in a kitchen where preservation is a daily struggle. By mid-morning, Marta carries worn shell bowls filled with kitchen scraps and pours their contents, fat, bone fragments, and leftover gruel down an open stone drain, channeling waste toward the yard beyond. The fetid stench of rotting refuse curls through the air, mingling with smoke and sweat. Nearby, Gunnar checks rat cages set at the kitchen's threshold, resetting triggers and baiting traps with scraps of meat. The sudden snap of a trap echoes sharply in the confined space as a rat is caught, struggling briefly before silence returns. The battle against vermin is relentless, yet unseen by most. These small, dark corners harbor a war waged daily for survival. The air is thick with the stink of refuse, and the tension of unseen enemies moving just beyond sight a constant. Hidden menace challenging human order in the heart of the home. At noon, the kitchen briefly softens with warmth and sustenance. Brother Thomas, a monk responsible for brewing and simple fare, stirs a thick pot of oat porridge, the creamy grains swirling slowly in the rising steam. Alda, her hands steadied by experience, opens the door to a large, dome-shaped earthen oven where dense loaves of black bread rest on heated stones. As the bread bakes, its crusts crackle and brown, releasing a smoky aroma that briefly lifts the oppressive grime of the kitchen. The faint sweetness of oats and spices mingles with the lingering scent of smoke. For a moment, nourishment brings small comfort in a day marked by struggle, offering a taste of warmth and hope amid the harshness of medieval life. As afternoon wanes, Alda reaches for juniper berries and slabs of hog fat, tossing them into a brass pot simmering over low heat. Smoke curls upward in thick, aromatic wisps, filling the kitchen with sharp pine notes that cut through the acrid haze of burnt lard. The pungent aroma renews stale fats, transforming rancid lard into a potent cooking medium. The kitchen air thickens with acrid fumes, the sharp tanks of juniper mingling with the heavy scent of smoke and old grease. This alchemical process, turning decay into flavor, is vital for stretching limited resources, masking spoilage and coaxing palatability from what might otherwise be wasted. Evening descends, and Brother Thomas samples small batches of home-brewed ale and mead. Some brews are sour and rancid, evidence of imperfect fermentation, yet still find use in cooking to mask spoilage in other ingredients. Thomas grimaces as he tastes, the bitter tang and yeasty sourness filling his mouth. Despite the unpleasant flavors, these brews are indispensably foring hydration and calories when clean water is scarce. Brewing is an act of survival, a practiced art born from necessity, turning grain and honey into sustenance even when conditions threaten ruin. As afternoon wanes, Alda reaches for juniper berries and slabs of hog fat, tossing them into a brass pot simmering over low heat. Smoke curls upward in thick, aromatic wisps, filling the kitchen with sharp pine notes that cut through the acrid haze of burnt lard. The pungent aroma renews stale fats, transforming rancid lard into a potent cooking medium. The kitchen air thickens with acrid fumes, the sharp tanks of juniper mingling with the heavy scent of smoke and old grease. This alchemical process, turning decay into flavor, is vital for stretching limited resources, masking spoilage and coaxing palatability from what might otherwise be wasted. Evening descends, and Brother Thomas samples small batches of home-brewed ale and mead. Some brews are sour and rancid, evidence of imperfect fermentation, yet still find use in cooking to mask spoilage in other ingredients. Thomas grimaces as he tastes, the bitter tang and yeasty sourness filling his mouth. Despite the unpleasant flavors, These brews are indispensably for hydration and calories when clean water is scarce. Brewing is an act of survival, a practiced art born from necessity, turning grain and honey into sustenance, even when conditions threaten ruin. As darkness deepens, Marta drapes vinegar-soaked cloths over kitchen utensils, cutting boards, and work surfaces. The sharp sting of acetic acid offering a crude but effective barrier against microbes. Gunnar walks the granary's shadowed aisles with a lantern, inspecting corners for signs of mouse activity, droppings, gnaw marks, or the faintest scratch. The kitchen settles into a tense quiet, punctuated only by the soft drip of vinegar and the faint scratching of pests. Vinegar's pungency sharpens senses, even as shadows lengthen, marking the relentless vigilance required to keep the household safe from the ever-present threat of contamination. In the deepest hours, the fire is banked with ash mothered to keep glowing embers alive through the chill night. Marta applies a final mop to the stone floor, using a mixture of urine and water, a potent cleanser whose ammonia fumes cut through grime and grease. The earthy, acrid scent hangs heavy in the air as the mop scrapes across cold stone, leaving a faint sheen. This final act of nightly sanitation, combining ritual, necessity, and crude chemistry, ensures that the kitchen is prepared to face another day. Resilience is etched into every sweep and splash, a testament to endurance amid squalor. Throughout the day and night, Gunnar hammers loose rivets back into place on cooking pots and sharpens blades worn blunt by constant use. Alder patches cracks in hearthstones, sealing the fragile hearth that shelters both fire and life. The metallic clang rings sharply against stone, dust rising in small clouds as soot smudges their hands. These repairs are acts of defiance, fighting decay and preserving the essential heart of the kitchen. Without sturdy tools and a functioning hearth, survival would crumble. Their work sustains the fragile boundary between life and death. Marta hauls heavy wooden pails from the village well, water sloshing with each step. She rinses grimy linens and worn clothing in the cold, clear water, wringing fabric with rough hands before hanging the wet cloths on lines strung between timbers. The splash of water breaks the heavy silence. The coarse textures of cloth and rope speak to daily toil. Laundry is a ritual cleansing, an attempt to restore order and freshness amid the pervasive dirt. Even in squalor, these acts of purification offer moments of renewal. Gunnar moves steadily through the cramped kitchen and granary, resetting wooden rat traps baited with scraps, and sealing cracks and holes in stone walls with clay and mortar. Each small crevice represents a potential gateway for disease-carrying vermin. His hands work with practiced precision, every baited trap a shield against unseen enemies. The faint, high-pitched squeak of rats blends with the gritty resistance of clay under his fingers. This unending campaign against pests is crucial to keeping the household from infestation and illness, a battle fought in the shadows. As the day draws to a close, Alda lifts a rough wooden trencher to her lips and sips a mouthful of rancid, sour beer brewed from salvaged grain and fermenting ale. The bitter taint coats her tongue, a harsh reminder of scarcity and compromise. The smoky warmth of the hearth wraps around her weary frame as her tired eyes reflect both endurance and resignation. This bitter draught is more than sustenance, it is a symbol of survival's harsh cost. The grim acceptance woven into every meal, every breath. In a kitchen where fire and filth collide to keep life flickering against the dark. Every quarter, a solemn ritual transformed the kitchen from chaos into sanctity. A priest entered the longhouse, his breath steady and purposeful, wafting pungent vinegar fumes over the hearth's flickering flames. The sharp, sour smoke curled through the air, winding around stone walls and timber beams. believed to banish the lurking miasmoth, the invisible evil that bred disease and misfortune. Villagers stood silent, faces illuminated by firelight, reverently watching as the ritual fire crackled and spat embers. The scent of vinegar mixed with smoke and ash, a cleansing balm to a place steeped in filth and toil. This sacred fire was more than warmth, it was a purifier, a shield against unseen forces threatening the household. Through this quarterly blessing, the kitchen hearth was renewed not only in flame but in spiritual protection, binding the community in shared faith and vigilance against the ever-present threat of decay. In the cool dimness of the brewing room, monks gathered around steaming tubs of barley mash, chanting solemn prayers to saints who guarded health and prosperity. Their voices, low and rhythmic, rose over the thick malt aroma, sanctifying the precious brew that would sustain the village through long winters. This was no mere beverage. It was a spiritual lifeline. The blessed ale was believed to carry protective power, warding off illness and bolstering morale in grim times. Congregants raised their mugs in quiet gratitude, drinking not only to quench thirst, but to partake in a shared, sacred ritual. The warmth of the malt mingled with the warmth of community, binding the drinkers in a collective shield forged by faith and fellowship. Through blessing the brew, the monks wove health and hope into each cup, turning everyday sustenance into an act of devotion and communal care. As dusk settled, villagers gathered to dispose of the day's feast remnants, bones, scraps, and offal, casting them into communal pits dug near the village's edge. The clatter of bones hitting stone echoed softly, mingling with whispered prayers offered to flavor gods and ancestral spirits. These offerings were not only practical waste management but a sacred pact, acknowledging the gifts of the animals and asking for continued bounty. The evening breeze carried the scent of incense and smoke, weaving through the assembled crowd like a blessing. Priests intoned ancient chants, sanctifying the refuse and shielding the community from the corrupting power of decay. This ritualized disposal transformed refuse into reverence, turning what was discarded into a sacred act of gratitude and protection. In these moments, respect for life and death intertwined, reminding all that even in waste, sacred bonds endured. During seething days, the kitchen became a forbidden place, a taboo zone, shrouded in silence and avoidance. Doors remained closed, children kept at a wary distance, as the community observed strict prohibitions meant to acknowledge the unseen dangers festering within. This period of exclusion was a collective acknowledgement of vulnerability, a social contract enforcing respect and caution around the dangers of filth and contagion. The heavy stillness was punctuated only by faint, lingering odors of decay and vinegar, reminders of the lurking perils. These taboos functioned not just as health measures, but as rituals, reinforcing communal boundaries and shared responsibility. By collectively honoring these restrictions, the villagers forged bonds of trust and care, turning fear of disease into acts of collective protection. In this enforced distance, respect for life's fragility was made manifest, shaping social cohesion through the recognition of invisible threats. Far from shameful isolation, kitchen grime was embraced as a shared burden, a common thread weaving the community together. Ritual cleanings became collective acts of care, villagers passing buckets, scrubbing floors, and washing pots in unison. The sharp scent of vinegar mixed with the abrasive scrape of scouring brushes as hands worked rhythmically, side by side. These communal labors were moments of solidarity, transforming revulsion into fellowship. Each scrub and sweep was a declaration of mutual dependence, a ritualized resistance against the chaos of filth and decay. The kitchen, though grimy, was a place where social ties were forged and reinforced. Through shared effort, the community reclaimed order and dignity, proving that even in squalor, human connection flourishes. Filth, ritual, and cooperation converged to create resilience, born not of cleanliness alone, but of shared purpose and care. The hearth fire was far more than a source of warmth, it was the living heart of the household and village. Elders tended the flames with reverence, feeding it steadily to keep the light flickering through long nights. Children huddled close, eyes reflecting the dancing glow, learning that fire was both protector and unifier. The blessed fire, maintained through ritual and care, symbolized the soul of the community, binding family and neighbors in a shared presence. Flames crackled and popped, filling the air with comforting sounds that eased fears and fostered conversation. This living fire was a beacon of life amid decay, a constant in a world ruled by uncertainty. Through the hearth, the intangible bonds of kinship and community were kindled, proving fire's role as a vital social anchor beyond its practical uses. Brewing was a ritual woven into the fabric of communal life, marking seasons, festivals, and milestones. Groups gathered to stir the mash, passing ladles and sharing stories as the aroma of fermenting barley filled the air. The clinking of mugs and hearty laughter echoed through the halls as freshly brewed ale was raised in shared toasts. This act of sharing was more than celebration, it was a vital reaffirmation of social bonds and survival. Ale embodied the community's collective spirit, a liquid thread tying individuals together across age and status. The cyclical nature of brewing mirrored life's rhythms, embedding continuity and hope in each batch. Through brewing and communal drinking, the village strengthened its unity, using ritual to transform the necessity of sustenance into moments of joy and shared identity. Dr. Sigrid Hampson, a cultural psychologist, illuminates the profound ways medieval kitchens ritualized disgust and fear, turning what might repel into a source of collective strength. Her insights reveal how shared rituals transformed revulsion into protective solidarity, making filth a force for social cohesion rather than division. Intercut with reenactments of villagers scrubbing floors, blessing fires, and sharing meals. Thompson explains that these practices served psychological as well as practical needs, channeling anxiety into communal action and reinforcing trust among members. This blend of hygiene, faith, and ritual forged resilient communities capable of withstanding the harsh realities of medieval life. The grime of hearth and scullery became a metaphor for unity, reminding us that survival often depends not just on cleanliness, but on the bonds we build in facing shared adversity. Beneath the clutter and chaos of medieval kitchens lay carefully carved drainage channels, narrow stone gutters ingeniously designed to carry wastewater, food scraps, and kitchen slops away from living spaces. These grooves, worn smooth by constant flow, guided foul runoff toward soakaway pits and cesspits, hidden just beyond the kitchen walls. Animated cross-sections reveal water trickling down these channels, pooling briefly before sinking into dark pits, carrying away the grime of daily cooking. The whetstone surfaces glisten with moisture, a testament to continual cleansing by flowing water, yet also a reminder of perpetual dampness inviting rot. The soft murmur of dripping water and the slick sheen of whetstone bring to life this unseen infrastructure. This hidden flow was an act of architectural ingenuity, balancing the need to remove filth while protecting the household. Through gravity and design, medieval kitchens harnessed natural forces to manage their worst enemy, filth itself. On kitchen floors and hearthstones, the dry powder of wood ash was more than a byproduct, that was a vital tool in the battle against odor and decay. Hands scatter fine ash across cold stone surfaces, its gritty texture absorbing moisture and masking foul smells. Occasionally, quicklime, more caustic, chalky, white substance was applied, its alkaline properties serving as a primitive disinfectant. Floors gleam faintly under the thin coating, reflecting flickering firelight. The faint scent of lime tinges the air, crisp and clean amid pervasive kitchen odors. These ancient absorbers formed an invisible shield against rot and larvae, helping to suppress the breeding grounds of flies and other pests. The powdery texture crunches softly underfoot, a tactile reminder of the constant fight for cleanliness. This layering of ash and lime created a chemical barrier long before microbiologists' impel. Natural substances wielded with careful intent to slow the advance of filth and disease. Stone hearths were not merely fireplaces, they were elevated platforms designed to protect precious food stores from damp floors and creeping pests. Side views reveal meats and cooking vessels suspended or placed above the raised stone slabs, safely distanced from kitchen floor seepage and vermin trails. The cool, solid stone underfoot contrasts with the warm, smoky hearth air rising above. This elevation was a critical safeguard, ensuring that valuable protein was not ruined by moisture or contamination. Hanging cured hams sway gently above the hearth, their smoky scent mingling with the fire's warmth. The practical architecture of raised platforms demonstrates medieval cooks' deep understanding of their environment's dangers. These hearths were bastions against decay, elevating both food and hope in an often hostile, grimy space. Through simple elevation, the kitchen asserted a layer of protection amidst the unavoidable chaos. In an age without modern insecticides, boiling vinegar steeped with pungent herbs became a vital fumigation tool. Thick, white steam billows from cauldrons as cooks added sprigs of rosemary, thyme, or lavender to boiling vinegar, releasing sharp, cleansing vapors. This aromatic mist pervaded the kitchen, seeping into corners and under rafters, believed to repel flies, gnats, and disease-carrying pests. The sharp temps of vinegar cut through smoky haze, its acidic bite clearing stale air. Visuals capture curling vapor swirling in torchlight, transforming dank rooms into fleeting sanctuaries of cleansing mist. The herbal infusion added layers of natural antiseptic power, an early form of pest control, relying on chemical warfare from nature itself. This fumigation was an alchemical dance steam scent, and fire combining to create an invisible shield against invisible threats, offering cooks a rare moment of respite in the battle against contamination. Periodic lime washing of kitchen walls and floors was a ritual of chemical hygiene. Raising surface pH to inhibit microbial growth, workers wield thick brushes, coating rough-hewn timber and stone with brilliant white lime paste. Surfaces gleam under torchlight, stark against the kitchen's usual grime. The chalky texture creates a fresh, alkaline environment hostile to bacteria and mold. The scent is sharp but cleansing, a bright contrast to damp, sour odors elsewhere. Visuals highlight the transformation: once dull and dark walls, now shining and renewed. Limewash was an ancient armor, a physical barrier applying natural chemistry long before germ theory. Its use reflects medieval cooks' empirical understanding of sanitation, blending ritual with practical science. This whitewash ritual renewed the kitchen's defenses regularly, a hopeful act of maintenance and protection against the relentless advance of decay. Professor Leif Gunnarsson, environmental engineer, elaborates on how medieval kitchens functioned as zero-technology microbiology labs, balancing the forces of rot through design and natural agents. Interview clips show Gunnarsson examining sites, overlaying microbes, battling ash particles in vivid animations. He explains, these kitchens were experiments in balancing decay and removal using gravity to flush waste, chemical barriers like lime and ash, and airflow to reduce stagnation. There was no science as we know it, but a sophisticated understanding born of necessity. Gunnarsson's insights reveal how medieval cooks and builders created living systems where architecture and materials combated microbial threats. Their ingenuity turned kitchens into battlegrounds for survival, using every available resource to fight the invisible enemies thriving in filth. This expert perspective underscores the blend of observation, experience, and adaptation that allowed medieval households to endure despite daunting challenges. Dr. Ingrid Falk, a materials scientist, discusses limewash's enduring legacy in modern food preparation spaces. She visits a contemporary kitchen where limewash is still applied to walls for its antimicrobial properties, connecting centuries-old practice with present-day hygiene standards. The smooth, cool white walls reflect soft lighting, their alkaline environment hostile to bacteria. Falk notes, it's remarkable that medieval cooks relied on this natural disinfectant. Limewash offers a chemical defense still valued in food safety. This continuity bridges past and present, showing how ancient wisdom shapes modern hygiene. Shots alternate between medieval ruins and modern kitchens, highlighting the material's timeless efficacy. The faint alkaline scent pervades, a sensory link to ancestors' efforts to protect their families. Falk's commentary frames limewash as a living tradition science, born from survival instincts persisting across millennia. A vibrant 3D animation traces the hidden workings of a medieval kitchen from drainage channels carrying filthy slops, 2 layers of absorbent ash, and lime filtering odors and killing pests, to pH changes neutralizing microbial threats. Water bubbles and trickles through carved gutters, dust swirls above powdered floors, and glowing lime layers shimmer with chemical activity. Visual overlays highlight each protective element in living color, revealing a hidden hygiene science built on observation, experience, and instinct. Sounds of dripping water, crackling fire, and faint insect hums create an immersive sensory tapestry. This living alchemy of architecture and chemistry transformed chaotic, filthy spaces into manageable environments, a testament to human ingenuity facing filth and disease. The sequence closes with a slow pan pulling back from the animated kitchen cross-section to a flickering hearth, reminding viewers that beneath the grime lay brilliant, if rudimentary, science, the foundation for modern hygiene practices. Dr. Emma Clark, a food safety historian, contrasts modern chemical sanitizers with medieval cleaning methods. She visits a commercial kitchen where industrial quaternary ammonium compounds and bleach are standard, highlighting their effectiveness against pathogens. Cut to reenactments of medieval cooks wiping down wooden boards with vinegar and spreading ash pastes. Primitive yet surprisingly practical antiseptics. Clark explains, while today's chemicals are precise and potent, medieval cooks relied on accessible natural substances like vinegar and urine ash. These early measures laid the groundwork for sanitation science. Visuals alternate between sterile modern surfaces and rough-hewn wooden kitchenware, emphasizing the evolution. The sharp chemical scent of modern sanitizers blends with the earthy vinegar aroma, creating a sensory bridge across centuries. Clark's insights reveal a continuum of human innovation in combating filth and infection, proving sanitation is a slow, persistent battle waged through trial and error. Dr. Clark discusses pest control evolution, juxtaposing today's exterminators using poisons and traps with medieval kitchens. Reliance on biological pest managers, cats and dogs. Footage shows modern pest control professionals deploying bait stations and monitoring traps, contrasted with archival images of cats stalking rodents and dogs patrolling grain stores. Archaeological finds of wooden rat traps and bone pit remains reinforce the hands-on strategy. Clark notes, medieval pest control was a delicate dance. Living guardians balanced the relentless pressure of vermin, reducing disease risk naturally. Sensory details include the sharp snap of traps and soft padding of paws, evoking a tactile sense of this age-old struggle. The segment underscores a symbiotic relationship. Humans copting animals as allies to protect food stores and health, long before chemical warfare on pests emerged. Narration details how modern commercial kitchens employ stainless steel grease traps that intercept fats before entering drains. A sophisticated engineering solution to grease buildup. A 3D animation illustrates fats settling inside an interceptor unit. Cut to medieval archaeological sites, revealing soak-away pits. Beneath stone floors, simple earth basins absorbing runoff. Dr. Clark explains. Though primitive, soak-aways were crucial in keeping kitchens manageable, preventing foul stagnation. Visual overlays show waste flow through medieval drainage compared to modern systems, highlighting ongoing human efforts to contain filth. Sensory cues include bubbling water in soak-aways and the metallic clang of modern machinery. The comparison reveals continuity in kitchen hygiene challenges and evolving responses. From earthworks to engineered devices designed to protect public health and infrastructure. Dr. Clark explores how modern health inspections echo medieval rituals like quarterly hearth blessings by clergy. Visuals cut between a health inspector meticulously checking surfaces in a contemporary kitchen and a reenacted medieval priest performing vinegar fumigation over a fire. Villagers watching reverently. Clark remarks, both practices, though centuries apart, serve similar purposes. Enforcing cleanliness and invoking protection, one through law, the other through faith. The sensory atmosphere shifts between clinical sanitizers and incense smoke curling around glowing embers, connecting regulation with ritual. This parallel reveals the enduring human need to impose order on chaos in food preparation spaces, whether by secular or spiritual means. Underscoring the cultural roots of hygiene, Dr. Emma Clark elaborates on the cumulative knowledge shaping modern sanitation. Interview clips show her walking through historical kitchen sites and sterile food labs. She states, "Our current food safety codes stand on a foundation built by centuries of confronting kitchen filth, disease, and failure." Archival images of grim medieval kitchens juxtapose with pristine modern processing lines. Clark emphasizes, each generation learned from the last, incrementally building a scientific approach out of necessity, observation, and experimentation. Her commentary humanizes sanitation history, revealing it as a long, arduous march from crude vinegar washes to sophisticated protocols, highlighting human resilience and adaptability. Sociologist Dr. Navin Patel discusses the deep origins of our disgust reflex, tracing it to medieval hygiene practices that enforced social order. Visuals show reenacted communal cleaning rituals alongside scenes of medieval social life. Patel explains, disgust functions as civilization's gatekeeper, demarcating purity and pollution, enforcing boundaries essential for trust. He highlights how medieval taboos and rituals around kitchen cleanliness were less about individual hygiene and more about collective responsibility. Embedding health in social cohesion. The sensory backdrop of murmured prayers, broom strokes, and kitchen bustle complements the analysis. Patel concludes, recognizing disgust's medieval roots reveals hygiene as a social contract, a foundational aspect of human community. Narration reflects on the unbroken thread linking ash-swept medieval stone floors to today's stainless steel culinary laboratories. Visual montage transitions from black and white medieval kitchen reconstructions to vivid modern food prep areas, highlighting cleaning rituals across ages. The crisp clink of metal utensils blends with the soft hum of refrigeration. Narrator remarks, though tools and materials have evolved, the essential mission remains. Safeguard the community by maintaining the highest kitchen cleanliness. Sensory notes include the fading scent of smoke, replaced by polished surfaces, freshness. This segment celebrates a tradition of care and vigilance, honoring the countless unseen efforts across centuries that protect our food and health. The final segment poetically weaves together medieval and modern kitchen imagery, overlaying dim hearths with shining commercial stoves. Narration states, kitchens remain battlegrounds where nourishment fights decay. Order contests, chaos, and human ingenuity battles filth. The crackling fire of ancient hearths melds with the whir of modern ventilation fans. Visuals linger on hands scrubbing surfaces, traps snapping shut, and chefs meticulously plating meals. Sensory detail blends warmth from firelight with the cool air of air-conditioned kitchens. The narrative closes through time and technology, the fight for survival and health enduring, testament to human creativity, endurance, and the relentless will to live. Visuals open on twilight settling over a medieval kitchen. The last embers in the hearth glow softly, casting flickering shadows across stone walls and soot-darkened pots. Steam rises lazily from a heavy iron cauldron and a stack of pans, their surfaces dulled by centuries of use. The room falls silent, save for the gentle crackle of dying fire. Medieval kitchens were revolting theaters of survival, where cooks wielded ash, brine, and faith to tame the filth that cloaked each meal. Amid smoke and stench, these innovations forged early hygiene practices and seen foundations beneath our modern kitchens. Cut to Alda the cook, her hands steady despite grime and wear, extinguishing the final ember by pressing a vinegar-soaked cloth against smoldering coals. Her eyes carry a quiet satisfaction, a hard-earned mastery over the chaos she commands. Shift to a modern chef in a pristine commercial kitchen. Stainless steel counters gleam under bright lights as sanitizer sprays mist into the air. The chef nods subtly, an unspoken tribute to the cooks who first scrubbed surfaces with ash and brine, battling invisible enemies. Hunger forced these cooks to endure and innovate. Their grime-baked legacy courses through every sanitized plate we serve today. Each spotless surface is a tribute to centuries of struggle, survival, and ingenuity. So next time you prepare a meal, spare a thought for those who turned grime into gold. Let their grit inspire us to build kitchens that are cleaner, safer, and worthy of their enduring spirit. Final shot lingers on a single flicker of ash, drifting slowly upward from the hearth's last spark into the moonlit air, an ethereal remnant of medieval kitchen alchemy, glowing softly as the screen fades to black.